When we are young, we believe that strength is in speaking. When we grow older, we realize that strength is in choosing what not to speak. When we are young, we think strength means speaking loudly, explaining ourselves clearly, and proving our point again and again. But as life moves forward, it gently teaches us a deeper lesson. Real strength is knowing when to remain silent. Old age is not a weakness. It is a stage of refined understanding. By this time, we have already seen enough victories to stay humble and enough disappointments to stay careful. We begin to realize that not every truth needs an audience, and not every emotion needs a witness. There are some parts of life that grow only when protected by silence. Money, for example, should be handled like medicine, necessary, useful, but never displayed openly. When people know too much about your finances, relationships slowly change. Conversations become heavier, expectations become louder, and simple kindness starts carrying invisible weight. Family matters are another delicate area. Every home has small storms, but those storms should be allowed to pass within the walls where they were born. When we carry them outside, they do not become lighter. They become entertainment for others. Plans for the future are like seeds. If you keep digging them up to show everyone, they will never become trees. Let your progress make the announcement, not your words. Our children's weaknesses should remain wrapped in compassion, not exposed to curiosity. A parent may speak with concern, but the world often listens with judgment. Health worries too deserve careful handling. Sharing them with the right people brings support. Sharing them with the wrong people creates fear, gossip, and unnecessary sympathy that weakens the heart instead of strengthening it. Then there are our past mistakes. Life already taught us their cost. Repeating them in conversations only gives others permission to define us by our lowest moments instead of our growth. Emotional pain is heavy, but choosing the wrong shoulders to rest it on makes it heavier. Some people listen not to heal, but to collect stories. And loneliness, perhaps the deepest feeling of all, should never be offered to those who do not value your presence. Loneliness shared with careless hearts turns into silent disrespect. Old age is meant to be peaceful, not noisy. It is the time to choose depth over drama, calm over chaos, dignity over attention. A river that flows quietly reaches the ocean. A river that makes too much noise often loses its way. Let your life become gentle, not fragile. Let your silence become wise, not empty. Speak when your words can heal. Stay quiet when silence can protect. Because the greatest luxury in the later years of life is not wealth or comfort or recognition. It is a heart that sleeps peacefully at night, knowing it did not give its peace away to people who never knew its value. As life moves forward, it slowly changes the definition of strength. In youth, strength is measured by how much we can do. In old age, strength is measured by how peacefully we can live. By the time hair turns gray, the heart has already traveled through many seasons. It has celebrated, it has suffered, it has trusted, and it has learned. And one of its most valuable lessons is this: not everything that is true needs to be spoken, and not everyone who listens deserves to know. Silence, at this stage of life, becomes a form of wisdom. Money, for instance, should remain like roots under the soil, supporting the tree but never visible. When financial details are exposed, relationships begin to bend under the weight of expectations. Even sincere smiles can start hiding silent calculations. Family struggles are like tender wounds. When they are touched by too many hands, they stop healing. Keeping them private is not dishonesty, it is protection. Plans and dreams also need shelter. When shared too early, they invite unnecessary advice, doubt, and sometimes quiet jealousy. Let success speak when it arrives. Aging parents often speak about their children with open hearts, but the world does not always listen with kindness. A weakness shared becomes a label. A mistake becomes a story. Love should protect, not expose. Health is another sensitive chapter. A small fear spoken in the wrong place grows into a rumor. Peace is fragile, and fear spreads quickly. Our past mistakes already live in our memory as teachers. They do not need to become introductions. Growth should be recognized by direction, not by scars. Emotional pain also deserves careful handling. Not every ear is safe, and not every shoulder is strong enough to carry truth without turning it into entertainment. Loneliness, when spoken to the wrong people, becomes vulnerability in the hands of indifference. Some will hear it, but very few will honor it. Old age is not the time to impress. It is the time to rest within oneself. It is the time to simplify words, slow down thoughts, and lighten the heart. Just like a candle does not announce its light, a peaceful person does not announce their wisdom. It is felt. When we protect our inner world, the outer world loses its power to disturb us. Privacy becomes our shield. Boundaries become our medicine. Quietness becomes our strength. Speak when your words create warmth. Remain silent when silence creates safety. Because the true success of old age is not how many people know our story, but how calmly we can live it. And in that calmness, we finally discover a rare gift, freedom from the need to explain ourselves to a world that never truly needed an explanation. With age, something beautiful happens inside us. The noise of the world slowly becomes less interesting, and the voice within becomes more important. We begin to understand that peace is not found in having more people around us, but in having fewer worries within us. In the early years of life, we speak to be noticed. In later years, we become silent to be protected. Experience teaches us that every word carries energy. Some words build comfort, while others quietly invite trouble. That is why old age asks us to speak gently, carefully, and sometimes not at all. Money, for instance, is better felt than discussed. When numbers become public, hearts quietly change. Respect turns into expectation, affection turns into calculation, and simple relationships lose their simplicity. Family matters should remain like prayers, soft, private, and sacred. When personal struggles are shared outside, they often return heavier than they left. Dreams and future plans also prefer silence. They grow stronger in quiet preparation. Announced too often, they become weak under the weight of opinions. Parents carry their children in their hearts long after they stop carrying them in their arms. But love must protect, not expose. A weakness spoken without care becomes a permanent identity in someone else's memory. Health worries too are delicate. The body listens to the mind. When fear is spoken everywhere, it settles inside the heart. Support is healing, but unnecessary attention is exhausting. Our past mistakes already shaped our wisdom. Repeating them to the world only allows the world to forget our progress and remember our pain. Emotions, when shared with the wrong people, become stories. Stories become judgments. Judgments become distance. And loneliness, this quiet visitor of old age, should only be shared with those who treat silence with respect. Otherwise, it turns into weakness in careless hands. Old age is not meant to be defended. It is meant to be lived. It is a season where we trade loud gatherings for meaningful conversations, crowded rooms for calm corners, and constant explanations for quiet understanding. A deep ocean does not show its depth on the surface. A wise heart does not announce its struggles. It simply flows. Silence becomes its language. Simplicity becomes its lifestyle. Contentment becomes its achievement. When we protect our inner peace, even storms outside feel distant. Speak only when your words carry kindness. Stay silent when silence carries safety, because the real wealth of old age is not stored in banks or homes. It is stored in untroubled sleep, steady breath, and a heart that no longer needs approval to feel complete. And when a person reaches that stage, they do not look older, they look free. As the years pass, we slowly discover that life is less about collecting experiences and more about protecting peace. In youth, we try to be understood. In old age, we try to remain undisturbed. Time does not only add wrinkles to the face, it adds clarity to the heart. It teaches us that every conversation does not deserve our truth, and every listener does not deserve our story. There is a quiet dignity in knowing what to keep to oneself. Money, for example, is safest when it lives quietly in the background of life. Once it becomes the center of conversation, it begins to change the tone of relationships. People may still smile, but expectations start speaking louder than affection. Family matters too should be handled like fragile glass. When they fall into unfamiliar hands, they often return broken. Problems shared within the home heal. Problems shared everywhere become permanent labels. Plans and dreams are like newborn birds. They need warmth and protection before they can fly. Spoken too early, they become targets for doubt and discouragement. A parent's heart is soft toward their children, but the world's heart is not always gentle. A small weakness once spoken can echo longer than 1,000 strengths. Health concerns should be shared carefully. Support is medicine, but unnecessary attention is noise. And noise, in old age, tires the soul. Mistakes from the past already served their purpose by teaching us. Repeating them in conversations only hands others a mirror that reflects our worst moments instead of our growth. Pain carried inside is heavy, but pain shared with the wrong people becomes heavier. Some listen to understand, but many listen only to remember. Loneliness is perhaps the most misunderstood companion of old age. When spoken to insensitive hearts, it becomes a reason for pity or advantage, not compassion. Old age is not the time to perform life. It is the time to observe it quietly. It is the season of fewer words and deeper meanings, fewer connections and truer relationships. A mountain does not announce its height. It simply stands firm. In the same way, a peaceful person does not advertise wisdom. It reflects naturally in their patience, their calm voice and their gentle presence. Privacy becomes a form of self-respect. Boundaries become a form of love for oneself. Speak when your words reduce someone's burden. Remain silent when silence protects your dignity. Because the real achievement of old age is not how much the world knows about you, but how little the world can disturb you. And when that stage arrives, life no longer feels heavy. It feels light, slow, and quietly beautiful.